7 News, live from the Adelaide studios of Channel 7.
Good morning, welcome to this special edition of 7 News as South Australia wakes to the terrible news that coach Phil Walsh of the Adelaide Crows was found stabbed to death at his Somerton Park home. The 55-year-old was stabbed in the early hours of this morning, allegedly by his son. Reporter Jessica Adamson joins us from the Walsh family home in Somerton Park. Jess, this is such an enormous tragedy.
Yeah, well, good morning, John. Good morning, everyone. What a shocking story this is for everybody involved. It really is eerily quiet here in Somerton Park where the Walsh family lived. Nobody can believe that this has happened. You can see major crime detectives behind me at the house. They're still gathering evidence. They're door knocking. They're talking to anybody that may have heard something during the night. Now, as we know, at about 2 o'clock this morning, paramedics were called to the home in Bungie Avenue where there were reports of a stabbing. When they got to the house, it became clear that Phil Walsh had been stabbed multiple times. This morning, neighbours have been telling us just how shocked they are. Crows fans have been here this morning. They are just devastated. We had some school children here before as well. They're just heartbroken. Phil Walsh, in such a short time, has had such a profound effect on the club, on the players and on the fans, and no one can believe that this has happened.
What are you hearing about the relationship down there?
Phil Walsh was a really private man, as we know, but I remember when he told that story about the surfing trip, and he really enjoyed telling the story. We're hearing that the family perhaps had some issues in recent years, but they had been trying to piece things together, and that the young man was living with them again, and they were trying to work it out. Mental health and depression issues, as we know, if that is what has happened here, are so complex, and you know, they're not easy to work through. The family was doing the best they could, but unfortunately, it's ended in the most tragic of circumstances.
Jess, you've got some breaking news.
That's right, John. Police have just told us in the last couple of minutes Phil Walsh's 26-year-old son has been charged with his murder. Now, there will be a bedside hearing later this afternoon in hospital. We'll bring you details of that as they come to hand. So just repeating, Phil Walsh's son has been charged with his murder. What a tragic story this is. We'll keep you posted. John. The AFL in the last few minutes has issued a statement. It says, "Our industry is grieving. Phil Walsh was a man of boundless energy and enthusiasm, and his death is a tragic loss." I was lucky enough to spend a bit of time with Phil Walsh at a Crows function just a few weeks back, and we talked about that bus incident, the bus accident that he was involved in Peru in 2012, and I know Soda touched on it earlier, but it really was an incident which changed his life. In fact, he came out of the accident with, I think, a broken collarbone and a broken pelvis, but he asked his wife Meredith to go back to the intersection and take a photo of where the accident happened, and that photo is the screensaver on his laptop. He told me that the photo reminds him every day of how precious life is, and he vowed from that day on to make the most of every moment, and we certainly have seen him do that throughout his life.
Now we cross to the scene of Phil Walsh's murder at Somerton Park. Our reporter Jessica Adamson is there. And Jess, are there any new developments?
Yes, there are, Jane. A short time ago, major crime detectives appealed for help from a taxi driver who saw a man with blood on him on the corner of Jetty Road and Brighton Road at 2 o'clock this morning. Now we know that's the time the 26-year-old Cy Walsh was seen walking in the area shortly before he was detained. Here in the Somerton Park street that the Walsh family have called home, it is incredibly quiet. The residents here, like all of us, are really struggling to understand what's happened.